Getting to Know Denver podcast, and this is episode 140, where we're going to talk about open houses. Okay, are they still relevant? Should we still do them or not? Okay, what are all the ins and outs, pros and cons of these open houses? And let's just throw the idea out there. If someone were to, if open houses never existed and we threw the idea out there to open up one of our friends' houses to the public and then just let everybody in for 3 hours on a Saturday, would that idea still hit in today's modern world where buyers can just see homes online, look at all the pictures, virtual tours from their couch? Like, does that idea still have any relevancy in today's market? So we're going to talk about that, discuss a little bit. There's been a lot of evolution within open houses. I remember even when I was just first, I got into the business the year that the iPhone started, right? 2007. And so I remember there wasn't any smartphone that was relevant at the time, except for when the iPhone came out later that year in September. But when I got into the business in July, people were seeing signs. That's all they saw for open houses. There was no way to sign up for an open house. There was no way to find out the details of the open house unless you snagged the brochure from the brochure stand on the listing sign, right? That was the only way to do it. And so you were coming in blind, going, oh, I like the neighborhood. I wonder what this house looks like. You had no idea what the interior looked like, how many square feet, bedroom, bathroom count, nothing. There was no way
price.
to know. Yeah, unless you called the agent or grabbed a brochure, you didn't know. So that was just buyers came in with, excuse me, not a whole lot of knowledge before, where nowadays they are looking at apps like Realtor.com, Homes.com, Zillow. They're seeing all the details on the open house, all the pictures, video, tour, everything. And then they're seeing open house scheduled for Saturday, 11 to 2. And then they're making plans to go see it. So they're finding it through the signs, but they're also finding it through online methods. And that's how they're getting there. And so the question is it the way buyers find homes? Is it relevant? Is it good for a seller? Is it good for realtors? That's all the stuff that we're going to discuss. And so let's look at what open houses actually accomplish.
What do they actually do? So good thing, open house, it creates exposure. You've got an ease of accessibility, right? So if a buyer has an agent that might have a conflict with the schedule, they can go tour multiple homes over the weekend and be able to do that without having to be represented or on site with the person. Mm-hmm. So there's convenience factor with that.
Yeah.
So I think it removes friction, just scheduling conflicts or whatever else, right? If you're dealing with kids' soccer games and all the other stuff that are going on.
Yep.
The other part that I do see is it captures the neighborhood interest. So a lot of the neighbors will come over and be like, oh, I saw the pictures online. I love what they did to this model home, because in the area we live, we have a lot of the same type of builder homes. Mm-hmm. Where they're in multiple different places. So people make updates or whatever else. Sometimes it's inspiring to come and see what that looks like. So then you get the folks that really know the neighborhood and they're like, oh, it's this model and it's been here, and oh, they did this and they did that. So creates a little bit of momentum. Also, anytime there's an open house and there's tons of cars out front, everyone's like, oh, what's the buzz all about? And then it just kind of self-fulfills and everyone kind of comes in. So. Yeah. But despite all of that, the benefits have heard there's some criticisms. Open houses don't actually sell homes. So let's address that directly.
So another way we use it, so part of the theory is, if it's not what it was, is it valuable? I think in the end we're going to say, yeah, it still offers value. But one of the things we do representing buyers, in the early stages, you don't know exactly, what they really like and why. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I'll send them to a couple open houses if I'm not able to be with them, to then get their feedback, assuming I've done my research and I know about that house. So it is part of the research process sometimes with buyers.
Yeah.
Which certainly didn't used to be the case, but I think that's one of the new use cases.
Well, it does help buyers, because sometimes we'll tell buyers it's important to eliminate location before the house, right? So that you don't fall in love with a house with all the upgrades in the wrong location. So if you send a buyer out and say go check out these 3 neighborhoods, an open house in each of these, and see what location and surroundings and neighborhood feel you like the best, then they're more prepared to start getting inside homes and go looking at more targeted showings after that. So
we're only able to do that with all the new technology and the photos, et cetera. We're just using it for a different purpose. Yep. To make for a much more efficient process with our client. Mm-hmm. Going forward.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought that was worth noting.
No, and then the other part, it's a calibration section, right? So you've got homes that some folks are like, oh, I want this home, and they have all of their wants and desires, but the reality is they're not going to get all of them at the price point that they're shopping for. So sometimes it can be a calibration session, or they think they want a 8,000 square foot home when they really think 5 would be enough. So
Well, we were talking about something in the meeting we had earlier, like some of the buyers say, I want, they have 9 variables. And we know that, to the point, not many listing agents get that granular. We're just closing the doors. So I'll admit this, like, you say this is so important, but can you go see this house? And it doesn't have 8 things, but it nails 4 of them. And sure enough, they're like, that's wonderful, right? And that's a way for us to calibrate, to your word. Maybe they're looking for that needle in a haystack when they should be looking for a beautiful farm that has a few haystacks.
Yep.
Chad, are you saying buyers are liars?
I thought I made up a really good analogy there. Farm with more than 1 haystack. Come
Well,
on.
buyers, I would say maybe they're not liars, but they don't know what they want until they see it sometimes. Yeah. And walking through homes, there's no substitute for walking through homes. So I agree.
Well, the joke I meant when you were talking about the story, when you slice it this way, the answer to your buyer is like, but what if you don't like that one house?
Yeah.
Because
It's true.
you very quickly can weed out a lot of really interesting options.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry, that was a very big tangent, but we use them in our process with buyers. Sorry, Gab.
No, you're good. Kind of going off of that, like maybe a buyer not necessarily knowing what they want until they see it in person. Many homes are ultimately purchased by buyers who first discover the property online. However, a lot of buyers first experience the home in person at an open house. And then that could also kind of help start their progress too, just looking for a house. If you
We came really close last week, right?
Yeah.
yeah, and then an open house may not directly cause the sale, but it often influences the buyer's journey. So like I was saying, a good way to get a buyer started or get them into homes when you're maybe not able to meet them. And kind of an example of this could be like a buyer sees a home online, they visit during the open house, they return later with their agent, and then they submit the offer.
Yeah. And that's what happens to us more often than anything else. Is like they see it for the first time in an open house. And I would still count that as like the open house was the instigator to get them to write the contract. Because they got to see it on their own, get really comfortable in it, and then they brought their agent back. The agent confirmed, yeah, this is a good house to go after, and then they go for it. So we've seen that happen more than any other thing, I think, relating to open houses. And, and really like 4% of all homes sell through an open house. But I would say like on our team, when we see at the end of the year, we've had, 3 or 4 sales that happened through a scenario just like what you just described, I think.
Yeah.
I've only had one home that I wrote an offer for that I had never actually physically been in because they saw it at an open house. So.
And who knows if we would have sold that house if the house wasn't held open.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because like the buyer may or may not have like skipped over it because their agent was out of town or because their agent wasn't available. So it's nice. Just the accessibility that you talked about, is huge to provide more engagement for more people. So that's big.
So assuming they still have value, which I think we're saying they do, when is the best time to do them? And some of the stuff probably hasn't changed, but let's kind of go through it. So we do a lot where you're trying to build excitement that right out of the gate, that first weekend. And keep in mind now when we're thinking about this, we can go coming soon 4 days before going live, and we have an open house that weekend, and we can start building some activity through marketing prior to that. So creating excitement right out of the gate. Let me say this and see if you guys think that there's a better way to say it. But if you're getting ready to sell a home in a step-up type neighborhood where most likely the buyer will be buying another garage space or a lot more square footage or more bedrooms, if you're in that type of community, you generally can have more success bringing them in because they'll be looking at the neighborhoods in general. So you might get more walk-in traffic than online scheduling traffic.
Yeah.
And then I think when you have something special, like the shock and awe kind of approach, if you've got some crazy awesome view on the golf course, you want to show it off.
Yeah.
And people want to see it.
Or you've got a home that's been completely renovated and is fully updated.
Shock and awe,
that
yeah. Anything that you think your attributes of this home are really worthwhile, you can present them. You can even tease it out in some photos or in the description to get more people to come see. And then it is what it is. But if you got something great, getting them in generally helps. So that's views, the new finishes, great neighborhood. Here, it's a lot about views and what you got behind.
Yeah. Definitely.
Anyway, so I think what maybe think about that is if you think you can make a strong emotional connection with your house, open houses can still be pretty valuable.
Yeah. And
gotta
logistically, like what time of week would you usually run an open house? Like when is it most effective?
Well, it's funny. We, as a team, traditionally they're weekend, middle of the day. I think we've all been trying to figure out other ways where you can do the same marketing, but kind of maximize your walk-in traffic is the way I think about it.
Yeah.
So like Wednesday evenings, we've got tons of daylight now. Friday, didn't you just do a Friday afternoon?
Yeah.
There's really no rules. And I think now that so much of the industry has changed from 25 years ago, it's good to know we're still tweaking some knobs to figure out what works best.
Definitely. Yeah, I remember April.
Lunchtime we did some,
April, who was on our team last year, she did an open house from 11 to 1 o'clock on a Friday. And she had it was like a revolving door in this more of a retirement community, I guess. But like they had a ton of people come through on a Friday midday.
And then I did a Friday lunch the next weekend and
nobody came?
no problem.
She sucked up all your traffic.
No, different house. But anyway,
yeah, and I think that's exactly what it was the community. And so it's got to fit the lifestyle of the people, right? When are the people available in that community? In other communities where you have more like middle class workers, like I feel like you get that like a happy hour Friday that can work out. But I think you're just going to have more traffic in general on weekend days, on Saturdays and Sundays.
It's being more popular now for the people being able to work remotely is that they work remotely on Fridays.
Yeah.
Because it's typically a shorter day. So I know a lot of folks are like, I'm just working from home today and I'm on my lunch break. So
yeah,
for
I've
Friday
heard that.
afternoon.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So it works out. It's an interesting perspective, but don't do it in Colorado like during a Broncos football game unless you're going to have the game on or something like that if they're playing
it's true.
well. So.
You got to know your town, right?
Yeah.
If you live in College Station, Texas, you better not do it on a Saturday during the Texas A&M game.
Or if you're in Texas with high school, Friday Night Lights,
Yeah.
right? Don't be doing an open house Friday night.
Totally.
So.
But for us, it's Bronco country, so you're going to have
For now it is.
Yeah, kind of the slowest succession for the future too. We're on
They're threatening to move.
We are on the rise. We are on the rise, and our new stadium is still in Denver, so there's nothing going anywhere.
The Indianapolis Bears.
Ouch.
Whatever. Bears can do whatever they want. Broncos are staying right here. So yeah.
All right, so that's when they do tend to work.
Yep. Absolutely. So definitely some scenarios where it may not be the best idea. And I think one of the biggest ones is when the house is like clear out in the country and there's not a lot of car traffic through that area. You may have some very calculated buyers who are looking on homes.com, Zillow, seeing that, but you're not going to get a lot of sign traffic that's coming to you. So, those ones may be a little more low traffic. The other one is if it's just very highly niche, specialized as far as the features of the home go, the floor plan or the style of the home, it may not attract a ton of people after seeing the pictures. And so that may not be the best, use of time. But another one is if homes don't have great photos, they're not priced well or they're not looking good.
Which, if you're the one who took the photos and put it up there, you probably don't know that.
Right.
Well, here's your blind side.
It may be more the home than the photos in that case, but then you may be getting low traffic on your open house as well. But if it's priced really well and it needs work, then that may be a crazy good open house because people love value right now and affordability. So that may be something where a ton of people come, investors and homeowners that want to, buy the place, and your tool belt buyers that want to get it and work on it.
You said off camera, when is an open house not going to matter much? Well, the house that we had where we had tons of listings, you can do it,
Yeah.
but you already got tons of offers. We never did an open house, never needed to.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and we have scenarios too where people just have a lot going on, right, with their family life, and maybe it's 3 or 4 or 5 kids and a couple animals or something like that. Those are tough. So those sellers, sometimes they call us and say, hey, we're packing everyone up. We're going down to Great Wolf Lodge for the weekend, do an open house this weekend, and put showings on Go and Show where you can just show it without even, us approving it. So everything changes when sellers are out of the house, but when it's occupied with a lot of people, sometimes that's not the best scenario for open houses. And so, open houses, we don't think it should ever be just an automatic thing that has to be done. But can it be successful? Yeah. 4% of the time, that's where a buyer comes from. So it's a good way to get more people through your house. It's a great way to develop more relationships, for agents and have more opportunities for us to work with other people as well. So it can definitely serve the seller and the agent in very good ways. And it can be a nice thing for the buyer too, to be able to have access to homes without their agent, like we talked about. So that's kind of how we would sum it all up. So if we want to think about like what is the ultimate modern strategy, like how could you absolutely crush open houses in 2026 if you're an agent for your homeowners and for your business? What would that look like? What do you guys think?
A nicely updated and well-staged home is a perfect one with a lot of foot traffic. If it's a neighborhood that hasn't had a lot of sales, and it's a lot of original owners that have lived there for 30 years, kind of to get that fever going. Oh, they're going to get this much for it, and it creates some benefit for the listing agent.
Definitely
on that aspect. But for a seller, just getting as much of the foot traffic and putting your best foot forward and catching that market as early as possible, because the longer you sit on the market, the more stagnant things become. So
that's a strategy that I don't think has come out in this so far. But when what do we do when we have an open house? Of course, we market it online. So things like having really great photography, which we always do, aerial photography where relevant, staging, etc. But when we get ready to do an open house and we have the wherewithal, certainly in a community like you're talking about where there's very low turnover, knock it on doors. Letting everyone around,
inviting all the neighbors
come
to the
on
party.
by.
Geo calls too.
Geo call too. Yeah, we do that. Anyway, those are things that we as a team do maybe as well or better than some others.
Yeah. Geocalls just means calling all the homeowners that are like within a 250 home radius, right? Letting them know that we're going to have an open house and you should, come check out the home. Even if you're just curious to see what another home looks like that's selling in your neighborhood or get ideas for what you could do to your home. Like it's a great one to come and look at. And that's huge because if you get neighbors coming, then you get additional traffic from your signage and your marketing on social media and on MLS and syndicate sites, then you're going to have a lot of traction through the home.
Your neighbor might know someone that they want to live in the neighborhood, but they never had the opportunity because there wasn't a home for sale. So
pick your neighbor, yeah.
And those are all people that love the schools, love this area, love the commute to things. So they already are sold on the neighborhood.
Yep.
So now it may be a good move up home for them, or move down home for them as far as size goes. So that's a good point.
I don't know that we always do this, but I get it so much more. So if you've got these things, I've got a great listing, I've got great photos, etc. We certainly within, RE/MAX professionals, we can communicate to all of our peers to back to some of the strategies we talk about for their buyers. Hey, maybe they're not able to get out there on that Saturday or Sunday, but they can send their buyers.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's a whole network effect at play.
I had a good home last spring, early summer that buyers were represented, but they came to the open house to look at the home. But because I knew the background on the home and walked them through and answered their questions right away, they were an interested party, and they ended up being the ones that ended up buying it. So there's some good opportunity there because a buyer's agent may not know that information versus the listing agent does. So you can help kind of advocate for your cause there.
Well, you almost just helped that Star Street card or listing
close.
sell. Yeah, super close to selling that one from an open house. So it does happen. There's some really good things that happen. I would say overall showings are more calculated because they've like seen it. There's intent. They set the appointment up with their neighbor or with their agent, and then they go look at it, and they know it meets their criteria, right? Where open houses, they see it online, but maybe there hasn't been as much planning to go into it to go set an appointment and see it, but they're still scoping it out online and then showing up. So there is some intent. I think the open house buyer nowadays has more intent than the open house buyer 20 years ago, for sure.
Not to be negative Nelly, but we do a lot of listings in and around Highlands Ranch. I have met the same couple 3 times. They're never going to buy a house.
I know who you're talking about. I've met him too.
They put on a good show.
Was his name Lou? Looky Lou?
Looky Lou, yeah. Anyway, so, but a lot of people love just seeing what else is, comparables for their home. Mm. What are other people? Because in a lot of parts of Colorado, homes are very similar from the outside, less so on the inside.
Yeah.
So people love to come in, get ideas, and tell you about why theirs is better.
For sure. There's always going to be those neighbors, and I think because of there's always that negative side of things, right? Is I don't want the neighbors coming in looking at my house, or I don't want people being too intrusive or whatever. Like that's why some sellers just say I don't want to do open houses, and we say okay, that's fine, we respect that. It's not the end of the world, right? You just took out 4% of your buying pool. We still have 96 left.
Yeah, and there's a security aspect that people are kind of concerned about too, right? So,
definitely. So, I mean, it can still happen. There's still a lot of other ways to sell a house, but it is a great ulterior method to sell the house and another tool in our arsenal, to do that. So I think that's the key. If you're watching right now and you're thinking about selling a home in Highlands Ranch, Littleton, Parker, Castle Rock, Lone Tree, Lakewood, Littleton, I think I already said that, Colorado, Denver area in general, we are here to help, and we can offer all these tools that we talked about today, in the MLS, market your home effectively on over 80,000 different websites, do a great video tour for you, and also make sure that we've got 3D tours set up so that you're enhanced on those sites, and then offer open houses, mega open house to try to get your neighborhood involved and make sure we can get as many people through as possible. And if you're someone who's been listed for a while and you're, maybe 60, 90 days on market and you're not seeing a whole lot of movement, we can't reach out to you. But if you want to reach out to us and chat with us, we're happy to give some advice and talk through that. So we appreciate you listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.